Yo, Sin is not playing.
I'm so happy right now.
You're shot.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by divas.
Welcome to the Sin and Twin podcast.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Sin and Twin podcast. We are live here at Studio Woe, and I'm your host, Sin, and this is my twin.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay, aka Har Bernard.
So this podcast is a platform to shine a light on creativity, hustle, and talent within the Hudson Valley. And what other way to kick this thing off than with my boys here? New York City and Hudson Valley-based band, Hamilton Fish. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
definitely.
Of course. Appreciate you guys being on. A little bit of a spoiler alert. The twin of the podcast, this is his band, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm a little bit biased because we are related. But I have been following this band, obviously, since creation, and I am a massive fan. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I think that that is what my title is. That's what I bring to the table. I'm super fan. And you guys have been blowing my mind every second that, you know, you've been progressing, every second that you guys have been, every show I go to, every single track that Jay lets me in on, you know, throughout the process.
She gets to hear the demos, the
I
sneak
do.
peeks. You know?
I get behind
Thanks,
the
Sin.
scenes, guys.
I was going to say, stop making me bashful.
I don't like to gas people up, but I'm going to gas you guys up a little bit today.
Oh, you're the best.
Yes, appreciate it. So we've got Paul over here. Paul is the drummer of Hamilton Fish.
Hi.
I like that.
Hey, Paul.
That was a beautiful.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Sin.
Hey.
Hi, Will.
He's
And
not
we've
usually
got-
the soft-spoken, you know?
Nope.
So
He'll warm up.
I'm enjoying it while I have it, you know?
And we've got Will over here too. Will is the guitarist.
What's up, everybody?
Jay here not only plays bass for the band, but is also lead vocalist. Paul, you hit backup vocals,
I
correct?
hit the backups. Yep.
Yep. All the way from the drum set.
Thanks for having us, Sin.
Let's get into it, right? You guys are dropping a single. By the time this episode is out, this single will be out.
Yep.
The name of this single is called Klepto. I'm here for it. So, Jay, why don't you, before we get into the single itself, why don't you tell us a little bit about Hamilton Fish? I love the birth of this band and the stories that come along with it. So why don't we start from the beginning real quick?
Hell yeah. So, Hamilton Fish is my baby. We're a post-hardcore band. We kind of do a little bit of everything when it comes to, you know, post-hardcore, emo, alternative rock, new metal. We even have a little bit of hip-hop influence in there. It's hard for us to stick to one genre.
Love that.
But, you know, we like to call it post-hardcore because it's kind of like a blanketed genre, to me at least. I started this band around the birth was around 2015. And
That's crazy for us to hear now.
yeah, I know.
You know?
We had I had a couple of other projects that I was working on, like a metal band at the time. I produced a lot of hip hop as well. And I wanted to kind of start a band that was up this alley of alternative rock. You know, things that, you know, we all grew up on and some of my favorite music. So I started writing some songs and I linked up with two of my other boys who joined the band, and, you know, it was birthed as like a 3-piece. And about a year and a half into the band, you know, we had played a couple of shows. We lost our drummer, and that's where my brother Paul comes in.
Hi, Jay.
So he joined the band, and, you know, which is just cool because we all grew up together here. Cindy, you know, is my twin sister, obviously, but Paul and Will here, we all went to the same high school. We've all been friends since we were around 14, 15 years old.
When Hamfish was first started with the other guys that you had, were you always playing bass for the band, or did you have different
Yeah,
roles?
so I actually started out playing bass. So I write a lot of the guitar parts and stuff for the songs. Like the way our writing process is basically like I bring songs or ideas to the band, and the songs end up changing, but, you know, there's just like kind of basic track, and you know, Paul gives his input and writes the drum parts, and same thing with Will. We kind of work on the guitar parts together. But yeah, when the band first started, I was the bass player and the singer, but I've switched between playing guitar and bass depending on
Right.
the lineup of the band.
And
so,
now we're back.
yeah. So now we're back to I'm back on the bass, and Will's our lone guitar player,
Laying
our
it down.
lead guitar player.
Laying it down.
So just as I was saying before, is that once Paul joined the band, it was nice because we grew up kind of jamming together, and he had his own bands growing up. I had my own, but we were always friends. We always played tons of shows with our bands together. We were in brother bands and stuff, and
For years.
so it was really nice having him come into the band.
Yeah.
Also, because he plays guitar in his own band, and so like we play pretty much every instrument. So when we're
Yeah.
working on songs together, he's not just my drummer. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's writing guitar parts and vocal parts and changing stuff, and sometimes we strangle each other because we're like, nah, this part's better, but we get through it.
Well, what's so cool is that like I've never, I mean, in the bands that I've been in before, I've never been with another person who played everything like I did.
Right.
So it's nice to kind of be able to pivot off of that kind of like expertise, where like if like one of us has an idea on the guitar, the other one will have an idea for like what the drum should be, or like a vocal melody, or like so
Right.
we're constantly working in different avenues, which is super cool because it like one person will like progress in one way in a song, and you're like, oh, that seems like a drum part like this should be going here, and then like all of a sudden you're like, I can hear a melody right here. Going off of that idea, like,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to blow this guy up real quick because it was an interview that I had heard from Jack White, shout out, a couple years ago.
Right.
And he was talking about the first time he wrote Seven Nation Army, that riff.
Which we
And
all
he
know
brought
is
it-
my jam.
Yeah.
But you guys would play that, and I just felt like not only did you nail it as a cover, but the energy that you would bring to that song every time you played it.
The song,
annoying.
well, so the cool part about that song is that he brought it to like a handful of his friends at the time who were really close to him, and he's like, I have an idea and I'm working on it. What do you think about it? It's Seven Nation Army, like it's Seven Nation Army, and they were like, I just don't hear it.
wasn't
I just
it.
don't feel it. And it instead of discouraging him, he was like, no, I'm gonna show you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna finish
That
this
is
song.
fucking
I'm gonna show you
serious.
what this is in my
that
head.
sounds like some Hard
That,
Bernard
like,
energy
and
right
we
there.
get hit by that all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like you'll write something, you're like, "Oh, I'm so excited! Check this out!" And they're like, "That's cool," and you're like, "That's not the reaction I was looking for out of that." And you're like, "I'm gonna show you."
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to play things that you want to play. I think a lot of people are trying to find a sound or be somebody, where Hamfish, like, we're all about, like, we play what we want,
Yeah.
and we hope
Yes.
that everybody loves that, but it's important for us to play music that we love because this is the reason we do it. We put a lot of hard work and time into it, so we're going to play music that we love to play, that we think is great,
Right.
and I think that as long as you're doing that, other people will recognize,
towards it.
Because
that
you
it's,
believe in it.
yeah, that it's really us, and that
Right.
we that's why we try not to stick to any genres, because we just love so many different styles of music. It's like every time I listen to a different song or a different genre, I'm ready to write an album in that genre.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I've always been somebody who listens to a lot of different styles of music,
Yeah,
and Paul
yeah.
as well.
So that's something I wanted to hit on really quick before we get into the birth of this this current Hamilton Fish.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back a little bit. You have been in so many different projects,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me. I don't know. Is that the norm, or would you agree that Jay's just kind of always been at 100 miles per hour,
No,
not stopping?
that I'll definitely say he's always been at 100 miles
Yeah.
per hour. But I will have to say that the Hudson Valley music scene was always about being in multiple projects. You just constantly
Yeah.
move because
Yeah.
people
Right.
fall in and out of love with it, and if you keep playing, you can't stop.
Right.
So it's always having things moving.
That's something I wanted to hit on, right? So Jay, let's go all the way back for a quick second.
Oh, here we go.
All the way back.
Through the portal.
First, what was your
Through the
first
portal.
musical project?
My first musical project
damn.
was a band called The Gradual Cause.
Gradual
Oh, I
Cause.
didn't even look for
Wow.
the demo today. Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna go home
yeah,
and
I
I'm gonna
forgot.
check.
Yeah,
So-
Paul has a demo from my first band.
I have this.
So I already told him he's got 30 days to get it.
It's facts.
Or I'll fucking
Or,
kill him.
or I'm out of the band.
And fun fact,
gonna be worse than
I
that.
have the T-shirt, the Gradual Cause T-shirt, and there was a couple, but This one has a picture of all the bandmates posted up in the middle of the street,
Yo.
true hardcore style, you know, with the long hair.
Yep.
And I remember heavily supporting the Gradual Cause. So they were first.
I do have to say, like, I have to paint a picture for those who don't know.
Yes.
That when we were in high school, there were a lot of, like, there was the scene of, like, the metalcore bands.
Yes.
And for some reason, you guys were mad cool about it. We were like, I was in a band that basically just covered Nirvana shit and like Alice in Chains and stuff.
Yeah, grunge.
We were like grunge. And you guys, like, we would play shows together. Like,
Yeah.
with bands that don't really necessarily belong. And we coexisted. We used to party together. We used to play shows together. We supported each other.
That was one of
Right.
the best parts, though, about like growing up in the Hudson Valley, and there used to be a lot more local shows back then, and the scene was definitely big.
more
It
eclectic.
was.
And I think one of the funnest parts about growing up in that scene, like Paul said, was playing with punk bands, playing with metal bands, playing with ska bands,
Ugh.
hip hop artists. We used
Yeah,
to, you know,
everything. Everything was at shows.
and I still feel like that to this day. Like, you know, I have no problem booking a show with a bunch of different genres because I think that's cool. you
Yeah,
know?
and
Yeah.
I think honestly that musical diversity that you've always had, I feel like that is such a huge factor in what makes this band so good and in all of your projects, right? I feel like you're just so rounded out in that sense. And even, you know, we can go back to middle school, high school. I feel like I'm not trying to take credit for anything necessarily.
Here goes.
There it comes.
But considering the fact that you had a twin sister that was very into the opposite, right?
Yeah.
You know, I've always been hip hop. I've always been, you know, like R&B, pop.
But you
know,
were at
things
the
like that.
you were at the shows.
Front row, baby.
Yeah, every show.
I didn't play those games.
Yeah.
So that was more the group I was in. You know, we came from a super cliquey school, right? You got to
Yeah.
choose, and that was that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jay and I, not to, you know, gas us up or anything, but Jay and I brought just a completely different, like we made it like cool to be into all of it,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you put us next to each other, and I'm sitting here rocking my Fat Farm sneakers, my LED belt.
Oh, you're
because-
throwing it back
You know
right
what I'm
now.
saying? And all of that, and Jay's there with his shoulder length hair, his
Yeah.
band T-shirt from Hot
Just have
Topic.
long hair, guys.
Damn.
Yeah.
Believe
Yeah.
it or not.
Yo, we both did, baby.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yo, when I met Paul, he had long blonde bleach hair.
Down to my shoulders.
I
Yes,
remember
sir.
that. We were on completely different sides of the coin as far as what we were into and all of that. But I also feel like there was so much of not that. If you like, so you would put me on to the bands that you listened to and the music you were into. And again, Battle of the Bands, I'd be right there front row. I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell you guys are saying,
But
but I'm here for it.
I'm
I
also
see the
gonna
passion.
I'm
like,
gonna
let's
gas you
go.
guys up a little bit more, and also saying that that kind of level of acceptance wasn't always there
Right.
in like the scene that we were in, because there
Right.
was a lot of polarization between the scenes,
Oh,
because a lot of the
100%.
bands would play and they wouldn't stay for the metalcore, and they wouldn't stay for the ska, and they
Right.
wouldn't stay for this. Like, different things wouldn't accept the other things, and you guys made an active effort
Right.
to like everything, and that's
Yeah.
actually what made me relate to you two from the beginning.
Yeah.
Was the fact that like I was this weird punk kid, but I liked everything, but there was a lot of like weird dissonance between the vibes, and then I met you guys in the metal scene, and you guys were fucking with everything. And
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
100%.
that's like, I can relate to this because I like everything.
Yeah,
Right.
it was like,
Like,
when your
it's a
band went
norm.
on and was
Yeah.
playing grunge, like we were all rocking the
Yeah,
fuck
dude,
out.
you guys
Yeah.
were all there.
Yeah.
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 100%.
Right.
Yep. I remember. What was your band's name? Flaccid?
Facet.
Oh my god.
Facet.
Oh my God.
That's
She just
what it
tried
was.
to destroy you
That was a time for the wah wah wah.
Word.
No, so
I've been watching a lot of that 70s show, so I'm gonna just say burn.
Yo, I love that show, man.
so that's the thing, right? It's just and I'm gonna okay. So I'll segue into where all of our diversity comes from. But it was nice when we made the switch from where we lived previously to where we met you guys. It was a lot less cliquey,
Yeah.
and it was a lot more like
Diverse.
way more diverse.
Yeah, like definitely. You know, when we moved to the high school that we went to with these guys, you could find people that were into hip hop and metal and punk, and they were all friends.
And it was all good. Yeah.
Which
And
wasn't like that, like she said at our old school. So it
Right.
was nice to see.
100%. And that's the thing. Like we had that that diversity, and then we came into the school with that in mind. We were like, we don't do cliques,
No.
you know, and we blended our friend groups all the time.
Yeah.
I was friends with people that never even like heard of the music he listened to, and they would come through to battle of the bands.
Yeah.
And they all loved Jay, and Jay and I did a lot of bringing people together that would have never otherwise
Yeah.
been
Agreed.
brought together. So Jay, talking to that diversity and everything, I mean, why don't you tell me, as we're going back to again the beginning of the, you know, birth of this band and just the progression of from where you were to where you're at now. You were in all these different projects, a lot of them different genres. I mean, your bout with hip hop was incredible, and I think that I can speak for everybody when I say that that's one of the most incredible things about you, and one of the things that makes people such a fan of you specifically. We've seen a lot of people saw you do your hip hop thing, and even just your swag when you're doing your band projects and everything like that. You're still so hip hop.
Yeah. Your
I
your approach is super
I breathe
hip-hop.
Yeah.
hip hop, man, and like no matter, you know, what I'm doing when it comes to rock or, you know, playing hardcore or alternative rock, like I said, there's always going to be a flair of hip hop in there. I love hip hop.
Right.
You know.
And you're also an incredible producer.
Thank
And
you, Sim.
had your bout, you know, working in a studio producing.
Yeah. You know, I've been an audio engineer since I was 17 years old. You know, I produced a lot of hip hop, and, you know, I had a couple of really good hip hop groups over the past couple of years. Shout out to some of my boys, Ghost of the Machine out of Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
Death Over Simplicity. My brother Fredo Crespo and my production brother James Green, one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, I still, I'm in close contact with those guys. And, you know, we've done a lot of music together, and we're hoping to kind of make a reunion soon, Mastermind Alliance reunion, hopefully put out a record.
Mastermind Alliance may be making a comeback.
Yeah, guys, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send this to the boys now. Let them know.
And then they'll be here too. When did you first decide Hamfish is happening? And like how? So what was I don't know if you necessarily want to say what project you were doing before Hamilton Fish.
Yeah, what were you doing?
I was-
What were you doing?
Fish?
Well, I had a couple of projects going at the time. Was Booze Brothers, which was
Oh, yes.
me and my brother Fredo Crespo. We put out a record together, and it was actually my first time
It was good.
emceeing on a record. So like I produced the whole thing, which I was used to making beats, but I had wrote this song called Runaway, and I had laid down a hook, and it was the first time I ever sang on a song as well. And then I was like, oh man, this song's got me so inspired. Like I want to write a verse to it, you know, rapping. And I did, and I sent it to Fredo, and he was like, yo, this is really dope. And he's like, yeah, I wrote a second verse for it. So he wrote the second verse. So we had our first song, and you know, I quit drinking about 8 years ago, and at the time, my boy Fredo, he liked to drink, and I wasn't drinking, so I was like,
He
I got a
dabbled.
perfect name, the Booze Brothers, you know what I mean? One sober guy, one active drinking guy, and we did a record, and we did a couple of shows. It was a lot of fun, and I was working on a metal project called Signs at the time.
I remember that.
Yeah, we never released it, but you know, I was working with a couple of my other friends, and two of the guys from the Signs band were the first two members in Hamilton Fish, which were my boys Paul Terwilliger and Tommy Mack. Shout out.
I remember you sending me some stuff from Signs.
From Signs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We were stoked about
Yeah.
that project. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but at that time I had the two projects, and I had wrote like one or two like alternative rock style songs, kind of emo songs, and I just got really excited to do a project like that. You know, I grew up listening to a lot of like Brand New, Census Fail, Thrice, and those types of bands, and you know, I've always wanted to. That's kind of like what our first band was after, the Gradual Cause that we were talking about before.
So from Signs comes Hamilton Fish.
Yeah.
I know that us as your fans, we were shocked to hear you start singing because you were never the singer.
No, I'm not. I guess I am now, but yeah, I never really planned on being a singer or a frontman, but I just got to a point where, you know, really the birth of Hamilton Fish was I wanted to have a project that, you know, if my guys couldn't be in the band anymore, because, you know, I had been through a bunch of projects already and shed a few skins. I wanted to start a band that I could write all the music and be able to keep playing the music or writing the music and recording the music, even if my band members couldn't be in the band anymore.
It was very much like, I'll do it my goddamn self.
Yeah. So I had to.
What a Dave Grohl moment.
Yeah, exactly.
know?
I had to, you know, grow up and force myself to sing because I wanted to be able to do a whole project on my own. And
That's huge.
luckily, you know, I don't have to do that because I have these fucking wonderful gentlemen next to me that put in so much hard work and dedication. And anytime I make a plan and I'm like, yo, we got to be here at this time. These guys they're the best. They're there, you know, and
Hi, Jay.
that's kind of
I will.
that's kind of the reason
High five.
High five, baby.
Hamilton Fish began. But you know, I'm very lucky and blessed to, like I said, have very dedicated members in this band. And this band is very much all of us are Hamilton Fish.
Where does Paul enter the story
All right,
here?
so you know, my drummer at the time had a lot of personal stuff going on. He had some beautiful kids, and me and Paul actually had just linked up for the first time in a while to start working on a new project with a good friend of ours named Steve LaRosa. And,
Hi, Steve.
You know, basically when, you know, things weren't working out, my drummer at the time, I had reached out to Paul because we were already recording a new project together and
you
jamming.
already had him on the hook.
Yeah,
for something.
we
Okay.
were already writing and stuff and jamming, and it was really the first time that me and him had pursued a project like from playing original songs.
Ever.
The stuff we were playing with Steve, and then, you know, I needed a drummer, so I reached out to him, and we were already kind of in touch and getting together every couple of weeks. So I was like, hey man, you know, I'm looking for a drummer, and you know, I kind of knew, you know, he'd be the perfect guy for the job because, like I said, just our chemistry and you know, that couple of months before building up together, I think really, like by the time I asked him, we were both so excited to do this.
It was
you
like
know?
an audition before an audition.
Yeah.
Well, and I've never told you this story. This is fresh.
I'm
Nice.
all in.
This is fresh.
I'm
So
all in.
So
You ready, Will?
So we had
Groundbreaking.
already been jamming with Steve for a little while, and then you called me one day. I think I was living in the city already.
Mm-hmm.
You called me and you were like, "How do you feel about joining Hamilton Fish?" And he already given me the sample.
I think you were in the process of moving, like you were
Yes.
moving like that.
It was
month.
like very, very early in the process of me moving to Brooklyn. And I went to your premiere show, the single release. So I was there from the beginning, and I knew about the project, knew the songs. I had the single and stuff, the EP. And I remember you asking me, and like I took it as almost like an audition. And I came up on the train one day, and we had already been playing for like months by that point. I was fucking nervous. Like I literally was
Oh,
nervous.
God, I love that.
remember coming up on the Beacon line and listening to the EP 4 fucking times through and drumming to all the parts on the train ride up before the night we played.
What a gem.
And some dude, like in the middle, because I took a really like midday train because I was bartending at the time. Took a midday train, and this dude was like sleeping on the train, and he walks up to me. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I'm fucking sleeping. Can you not drum on the
Oh,
fucking seats?"
shit.
And I literally looked at him. I was like, "I have a fucking audition, dude." I'm like, "You can pick another car." And like, I took it mad serious.
Yeah, you were in the fucking zone, Chief.
Dude, I literally, like, you would laugh because I basically already, like, we auditioned already.
You
Like,
had
you
the
knew
job.
what I could, right.
You
Yeah, he
had
did.
the job.
But, like, he asked me, and then it became real. Like, I was like, oh, this fucking project sounds fun. Like, it's right up my alley. I'm like, don't fuck this up. Like, and I got in my own head, but, like,
Right.
I was
Oh,
nervous.
he killed it.
Yo, I came up,
And,
I was,
and it blows my mind too.
I was nervous
Paul,
as fuck.
because you exuberate an insane amount
I like it. I like it.
you exuberate an insane amount of confidence, especially on stage.
Oh,
and
it's-
especially like with music.
It's
So
all empty.
This blows my mind to
there's-
hear that you were like nervous for something. Especially again, you guys go back to like high school.
Years.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Jay knows you're talented. Jay's seen you play.
When I first met Paul, he played guitar and fronted a band. So in my head for like 10 years, I always thought he was a guitar player first until we started jamming before he joined Hamilton Fish. He's like, nah, dude, I'm a fucking drummer.
Yeah.
Get out of my face. And I was
I
like,
don't know if
"Get
I
the
ever
fuck
remember
outta
you
here."
playing, and that might have been before I really got heavily involved with watching you guys and everything like that. But I don't think I ever like. I always
He
pinned
played
you to
drums in
Hawaiian
Squaw
Punch.
I used to pretend that I could. What was the dance for ska music?
Skank.
Skanking.
Skanking.
Skanking around the
I
middle
used to
school
be-
auditorium.
Yo,
Yes,
there's-
exactly. I used to be in the middle of the cafeteria or wherever they held Battle of the Bands that year, like pretending
Yeah.
that I could do it.
remember seeing each and every one of you in the pit during at
100%.
least one of the
100%.
skanks.
I would have been moshing too,
Yeah.
but I had to be smart enough to know that if Jay saw anybody hit me, he's jumping off the stage.
Hell yeah, we brawl.
Yeah, but
So he
that's
used
metal
to-
as fuck though.
He used to
Hell yeah.
tell me,
It's metal.
please, for the love of God,
Don't get in the pit.
don't get in the pit. Just don't do it because
Because
if
people
I have
like
to stop
Will,
playing and
because
do
people
what
like
I'm
Will
doing,
act a fool.
right?
Oh,
Yeah, I was just about to say.
every time.
There's a video on YouTube of one of my old metal bands called Falling Through Flames, and Will's in the pit tearing it up at Montgomery
Day.
And Monk-
Yeah.
Another
It was
shout
hot
out
that day too.
for Falling Through Flames, which I'm not gonna take credit for anything, but I was in that music video for you guys.
Oh yeah, first
That
music
was my
video shot by
first-
Gabe.
My
Shout out
first
Gabe.
yeah,
Drowning
shout out to
victim.
Gabe.
Question.
Drowning victim.
Drowning victim. Well
Drowning
done,
Gra-
sir.
drowning,
Well done.
drowning victim too. No, I'm just kidding. So, question: one of your bands played in Walden, and somebody got thrown through the front window.
Oh,
What
so
band was that?
That was.
I was
Four
at that
Oceans
show.
Below.
Okay. I
Another
was at
metal
that show.
band.
Below.
I was at that show.
Yeah, we played. What was that place called in Walden? On Main Street.
Dude,
oh my god,
how did
It's
that
shut
place
down now.
close?
getting
Yeah.
old.
It was like a sports bar.
Come on,
it
Will,
never,
you
and
gotta
it never
remember.
really lasted
Will,
long.
Will.
Come
It
on.
hasn't been opened, I feel like, ever since that guy
It
got thrown
hasn't.
through the window.
I'll just say real quick, that was a benefit show, and it was probably the coolest show we ever played.
Yeah.
and like I feel bad
you
in
don't.
retrospect.
You do not.
Because some of our boys were playing after us, and another band was headlining. But you know, in a metal band, when the place gets crazy, it's a good thing for the band, right? So we played this really awesome show, and we played third to last, and the place was packed, and we just, I mean, it just shit got so crazy in there that somebody got rocked by another person.
That's an understatement.
And yeah, then it basically turned into a big brawl. And I remember
That's a good show.
our vocalist looking at me and being like,
It's awesome.
"Hey man, should we stop right now?" Because
No.
we literally had like a half a song left.
You looked at him
and I
like-
looked at him and I was like,
Don't you dare.
I was like, "Fuck no, keep going." Like we don't stop playing until we see police lights.
He says right here,
Right.
he's like,
And
he's
there
like,
was
he's like
police
throw
lights.
one more breakdown in.
Yeah.
Right
Yo,
now.
well, that's the thing. At the end of our set, we always do like everybody get the fuck up. You got one last chance to fuck this place. And they literally fucked the place up to the point where the cops did show up at the end of our set. And
Shout out Walden
unfortunately-
PD.
Yeah, shout out Walden PD. The last two bands were not able to play because they shut the show down. And
There's
like
fire.
a year later, they shut that bar down. That was one of my biggest accomplishments.
Highlights of your life, dude.
As a musician
Yo.
was, you know, being in a metal band and fucking a venue up to the point where the show has to stop. I was just like, keep playing,
Keep going.
keep going.
Of course, this is like one of the shows that I didn't make it to.
You weren't there.
Yo,
I was not
even
there. I
there's
missed that
pictures
one.
of pictures of Brandon in the
I was
pit
probably
there.
having
Yeah.
a baby or
Remember
something.
that? Remember that picture
No,
where it
I
looked
don't-
like
I don't know
Brandon
where-
was like jacked? He didn't have a shirt on.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That
from
was
that
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul has entered. Paul is now the drummer.
I've showed up.
I want to talk about you, Will.
Will.
Hooray.
We're gonna fast forward a couple of years.
We're
here.
gonna
Yes.
Shout out real quick to our producer, the Prince of Chaos.
Yes.
And the Prince of Chaos is not only is he the man, and I just gotta say this real quick, but he is the visual
Guru?
the visual guru.
Mastermind.
He's the mastermind of, you know, basically what we put out.
So we're gonna shift gears a little bit.
I will.
We're gonna fast forward a couple of years because we're talking to the current band. Will. So
Well,
William.
something Wilhelm.
Air 5.
something
Wilhelm.
Air 5.
That's what we called him growing up. Wilhelm.
So Will's older brother Andrew actually used to be your bassist.
Bass player. Shout out Diggs.
Diggle.
Diggle, we love you.
Which
Diggle
band was
Andy.
Miss
it?
you.
Was it Falling Through Flames?
Yeah. Oh no, Four Oceans Below.
Forward way.
Will, you've always been around. You've always been like the little brother to the guys and everything.
This is
Always.
my fucking little bro right
And
here.
now I want to know how you made that transition from little brother to kick-ass guitarist.
You know, I always wanted to kind of do that, but never really, you know, set myself up in the right, you know, situation to do that.
Right.
I was always, you know,
Were you intimidated?
no, I wasn't really intimidated. As more as I was just more excited to do different things. You know, shout out-
Listen, Will. I'll tell you guys something. For a long time, Will was the life of the party.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Will was a little
So it's
psychopath.
true, yeah.
having the last name Diggle and everything like that always came with like an accolade, kind of like, you know.
Right.
Hell
So
yeah.
it was like trying to like, you know, one up, you know, Andrew or David to do, you know, anything really. So I always grew up with a good like sense of competition.
Because
and,
you're the
like-
youngest of three,
Right, exactly. So I, you know, by the time we were in high school and we were going wild,
Right.
like, you know, you know,
Wait,
I was a
might.
live wire, man. The story of the way I came into the band, I feel
Yes,
like is a
let's
little
hear
bit, you know, a little bit different than most. During, obviously, you know, the pandemic happened, and all of us got those awesome stimmy checks, right?
Yes.
Money, money, money,
I remember having a vivid
money.
conversation with my
Stimmy.
wife, Olivia. I was like, I'm really thinking about, you know, buying a.
Shout out Olivia.
Shout out Olivia.
Sure.
We love
the most,
Olivia.
She's
she's
the
the
best,
most
Olivia.
amazing woman that I've ever met in my life. And
So
it all
melting.
comes from her wise words. You know, I was like, I'm thinking about buying a mountain bike and going out mountain biking. And she was like, I don't know if that's a great idea, Will. You know, you're going to get hurt.
Real quick, Will is an adrenaline junkie
Yeah, you know, I
by
do
nature.
lots of things that need to make my blood boil, and you know, it requires a certain, you know, hobby to do that. So I was thinking, oh, mountain biking, I'll be an awesome mountain biker and I'll do all that. And she's like, Will, I don't know, you're gonna hurt yourself. We've already been to the
I'll be an
hospital
awesome
12,000
mountain
times.
He already destroyed himself
Yeah, you
doing
know,
MMA.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever met someone that has ever said, I'm going to be an awesome mountain biker.
I'm gonna be so
Who
cool.
are you,
I'm
dude?
gonna go to Colorado and I'm gonna do all this mountain biking. And
a sick
Okay,
fuck.
so Olivia basically says
she was like, nah, we're not doing
not a good
that.
one.
So then, you know, a couple days go by and I went to my brother's house for a housewarming party that, you know, he just bought as a house. And Jay came by and I was like, oh, sick, Jay. You know, he's here, cool. And we were playing cornhole and everything like that. We got started talking about guitars and everything. And I was like, you know what, that would be a really cool hobby to kind of pick back up. Because I played guitar my whole life, but never really applied myself to it fully. So yeah, me and Jay, you know, kind of linked back up at my brother's house, and he was like, "Hey man, if you get a guitar, you know, come over and I'll show you how to play, you know, and you know, we'll have a good time. We'll just hang out." And that's exactly what I did. As soon as I got that first stimulus check, I went right online, bought a guitar without even thinking about
Jay
it.
just ruining lives,
Just saying,
left and right.
So
Straight
it's
up.
an endless
Sorry,
story
Olivia.
of Jay
love
telling me
you.
to spend money.
I love how everyone else gets stimulus checks and they're trying to survive. And this first stimulus check, I'm going to get a guitar.
Yeah.
I like it.
And,
I also like how it went from mountain biking to guitar playing.
Yeah,
Talk about a
it
left turn.
It shifted gears quick, and I remember going over and playing guitar with Jay and him showing me the basics of everything, and getting my rhythm down and everything like that. And I remember a couple times going through, I can tell that he could sense that I wanted more, you know, especially in, you know, the music side of everything. So he was like, I'm just going to show you a couple of my songs from Hamilton Fish, which I've heard before. And
Yep.
we're going to learn these songs and we're going to, you know, get song
Shiesty.
structure down. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. That's a great
Shiesty.
way to
steps ahead.
capital it.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what we did. We learned all the songs on their demo, which was Stay a While. Right?
Yep. Stay a while.
Stay a while. And
First,
we learned
first EP.
we learned
Out now.
every single we learned every single song, and it turned into like a mutual thing. I used to go over with my lawnmower and I used to cut his grass, and then I would stay and we would
I love
relax.
this.
That was
and-
our deal. He
and
used
then
to.
he would teach me guitar.
Yeah, he'd cut the grass. I gave him guitar lessons.
It's a good deal.
So that went on for the better part of the
That's crazy.
pandemic and the quarantine. that we were under. And time went by, and we kept learning new songs, and I kept getting better. And I remember one day I went over, and we started jamming on Morning After. And
Such a good track.
We
Out
finished
now.
the song, and I remember Jay putting down his guitar, and he looks at me and says, I think I'm just going to have you come to band practice with us in 2 weeks. You think you're down for that? And I remember putting my guitar down and getting up and hugging him, and I said, oh, my God, I'm finally getting so good at something that, you can see the fruits of your labor. And
Yeah.
It's a big step, man.
Absolutely.
It's a big step. Getting to the point of being able to play with other people. That's the next big step when you're learning an instrument.
And guys, remember, this kid said he's been playing guitar pretty much his whole life, but
He lied.
like when he bought his guitar, he could only play very minor things and some songs that he had learned. He didn't know really, what notes that he was playing on the guitar and stuff like that.
no
So,
idea what I'm doing.
Obviously
Huge.
we're sitting here and, like Cindy said, he is, our lead guitar player. I mean, this kid has put in so much work in the past 3 years, and I'm proud of him. Proud of you, Will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
It feels
love you,
great.
buddy.
I can't stress that enough. So from the outside looking in, I remember Jay telling me, like, we all know Jay. Jay loves to make a prodigy.
Hell yeah.
And he loves to and it comes from him seeing people's potential 100%.
Yeah.
I'm gassing you up way too much
Yo,
in this
I
episode.
love this episode.
This is
my
not going to
favorite
be happening
podcast.
for every episode, let me tell you this. But
Don't worry. Once I'm back to co-host, she'll just start being mean to me. So.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
yeah, this is your one and only.
awesome.
So you have such an eye, but you also just always want to. You're first of all the most supportive person I've ever encountered in my life personally. But you also have this ability to see the potential in other people, especially when they don't see it in themselves, right? So with Jay, he comes to me and he tells me, "Yo, Will's doing guitar lessons. He's showing interest, so I'm showing him." How to play and everything. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty great. He's like, I'm going to get him nice at this. He's going to be in the band.
It was always that
knew.
way. Yeah,
Same.
he was
He knew.
grooming.
He said that to me like
Yeah.
a year in advance. He's like, yo, in a year, Will's coming.
I know.
Oh
and
my
and
God,
Paul's like,
remember
all right,
that?
we'll see,
Yeah.
And
He said the same thing to me. He's like, dude, imagine in a year he keeps going at the rate he's going right now. He's going to be rocking out with us on stage. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he knew it.
It was wild. It was, and I remember it getting really real. The first time we went down to New York City to go practice, I was having an anxiety attack. Not really.
I don't know why I'm laughing at that. I'm sorry.
No,
I know, it
we
is.
went from Paul's audition to Will's.
Yeah, for real. And I remember having a meltdown because I was going across the Newburgh Beacon Bridge to meet Jay at the Newburgh Mall so we can get on carpool down to the city.
Yeah, I was still
And,
living up here.
I was caught in bridge traffic and I was late, and I don't like being late. Neither is Jay. That's where we kind of,
Right.
And so we're very punctual people. So I'm freaking out and I'm calling Jay. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be late. I'm so nervous. And it was the first time I really was going to go jam with Paul because it wasn't really playing with Jay that was really getting me. It was like, oh my God, Paul, like,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
Paul
God, Paul, like,
Here I am.
Paul
God.
Here I am,
Eiffel
Will
Tower.
Diggle,
God.
playing guitar with
Fuck
Jay in his
off.
basement, and now I'm going to go play with Paul Eichel. And, me and Jay were always really close growing up and everything like that. Me and Paul knew each other, and, I was at that Battle of the Bands, skanking throughout the cafeteria and the hallway and everything like that. But, I was always in, the impression that Paul, musically, was like the golden child, especially
He's
of
an
where,
animal.
where we were, because
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
played
Thanks, man.
everything. Paul was playing, guitar and singing those Nirvana songs. He was in Squine Punch, jamming out on the drum set. So I always knew that Paul was such a good musician.
He's like a
talented
3 times
person.
Battle of the Bands champ.
Right. And I always
Oh,
said,
that's obnoxious.
being in the band, I always tell Paul, I was like, how does it feel being the best guitarist in the band?
Get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
Get the
fuck
out of 3 people who play the guitar, I'm like, especially when we went to go record that first song, Paul's jamming out on my Firebird. I come back in from 7-Eleven with Jay, and Paul's jamming out
Fucking
to his
around.
own stuff, and I'm like, man, I suck.
This son of a
You're
bitch.
good, dude.
I gotta follow all these guys, So, but I feel like that's the most healthy thing.
Yeah.
in the process is, especially a person that wants to play guitar and learn how to play, the best thing you can do for yourself is to play with musicians that are better than you.
Dude,
For
that's,
sure.
that's in
Absolutely.
everything.
For
Yeah,
sure.
everything.
I was just gonna say the same
It will
thing.
push
Iron
you
sharpens
to-
iron,
Yeah,
baby.
it's
There it
gonna
is.
it's gonna make you into so much more of a a tight player, and hone your sense of strong song structure and everything like that, to the point where it kind of like fast forwarded my playing and made me want to do better.
Well, but let's also say that in you bringing that level to the band where you're still trying to get better and better and better, if Jay and I aren't also trying to get better and better and better, why the fuck are we in a band?
Right.
We should always be trying to aim just a little further than we're comfortable
And
with.
correct me if I'm wrong, to have somebody who's still so green but so quickly good at playing their instrument, that's gotta also light a little bit of a fire within you guys,
Of course.
right? Like,
For sure.
because I'll never say that you guys have ever gone stagnant, right? Because like I said, you're at 100 miles per hour all the time, and dude, your energy is like, Jesus Christ.
It's off the wall.
It's all coffee.
It's
It's all
amazing.
coffee.
It's amazing, but it's the passion, and it's you guys do it for a reason, right? So it's not like you guys ever lose steam.
We do it
but
for
I
the love.
also-
Shout out L Squad.
Word.
Word.
So I think it also having somebody who's still like pretty new in their venture and everything in your band, I think that would also have to kind of, really just light something within you,
Yeah.
to keep to remind you why you're doing this, remind you the feeling of when because it's been a long time for you guys, but that feeling of when you just started getting
fresh.
it, and you
It's
like
fresh.
And-
your first good
Yeah.
band and all of that.
Also, even just like teaching Will the songs and stuff, like like when me and Paul fuck parts up, like we kind of look at each other because we're like, yo, we got to be
Do
on
you love
point for
that?
Will.
No,
We got to
I
be
love
on
when they
point for
mess up.
Will
I
so
was,
that he
I was
can.
literally just about to ask you, like, do you feel the same way, like, in terms of like, I don't mean to be any certain way, but it's like you're learning and you're getting comfortable in like the dynamic, and it's like we are being a group kind of like cradling you into it. So like we need to be on our game as much as
Yep.
possible to not fuck you up or ruin
Yeah,
this
it's
experience
like
for you.
it's like the
Right.
Believe
Yeah.
bridge. Like if Paul comes in at a certain time, like then it throws the guitar off.
The
So, like-
entirety.
like Paul will like do something like that. I'll look at him like, you
fucked
know better. You know what I mean?
Fuck him.
you.
But like it drives us to be better because
Yeah.
you're driving to be better. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Right.
it elevates the whole room.
Right. And I feel like, and again, from an outsider's perspective, first of all, I can't stress this enough, Will. I am blown away by you.
Thank you.
These guys have been impressing me for a long time. I am blown away by you. It's been a year, and you are now lead guitarist in Hamilton Fish, which is no small feat. It's no small thing, and
Right.
you're killing it. And again, you've always been Little Diggle. I remember the first show that you did with them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I remember I felt like I was more nervous than you were.
Oh,
But that's only because
Thank
you
God
didn't,
somebody
you didn't
was.
show it, right?
you crushed
didn't-
it, dude.
Whatever you were feeling, you didn't show it.
Crushed
Right.
it.
And
man.
I just remember thinking, first of all, I don't want to speak for you, and correct me if I'm wrong. Jay wasn't worried.
no, he didn't seem worried.
Jay was like, he's got it, dude. It's
Yeah.
gonna be amazing. And I wasn't
I used
worried.
to assure Will,
Right.
and just be like, listen,
You're good.
you're gonna do good. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Go
and it
out and
wasn't-
fall on your face if that's what you need to do.
Fucking
That's
A.
what people don't understand.
I mean, he's done it before. plenty of
Everybody-
times.
yeah.
Maybe not
Thousands.
guitars.
Wow,
but-
Thousands of times.
Everybody's
That was an
worried
MMA
about it.
reference, sir.
Burn.
Yeah, this face has been busted up many times, and the pain of subconsciously screwing up a note or doing this and here there is much
Right.
less than
Well,
getting kicked in
dude,
my nose. And
I honestly
my
feel
teeth.
like the biggest thing you can do as a musician is fuck up sometimes. It makes you
Right.
feel alive.
Right.
Yeah.
If you played everything perfect 100% of the time, I don't think Jay and I would be doing this anymore.
Do you feel
I
that way,
kind of
Jay?
like the human element. I like being like, played that a little faster. Could have done that better. That room for improvement is what keeps us going. If I was
Yeah.
perfect every time, I wouldn't fucking do it.
Do you
And-
feel that way, Jay? Yeah.
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 Jay has a list of things after every show.
Honestly, not really anymore because I think that, you know, I play with these guys, and when everybody's 100% dedicated, it's like those things don't really matter as much.
That's it. That part
You know.
right there.
But when people don't really care, and you're putting all the time and the money and the travel and the hours spent,
Effort.
rehearsals, studio, practice, you know, you get hurt after a show when, you know, you put your heart into it, and, you know, not everybody put their heart into it. So
Right.
it's kind of different now with Hamilton Fish, and same thing as well with my other band, Hills to Heights. Shout out to my boys. You know, everybody is really, you know, I think that moving forward, like the older I get, is like I just want to be in groups and bands and musical projects with people who really care.
Yeah.
If you don't
Right.
have 110% to give,
Why are we here?
then I can't do it. You know what I mean? It's just it's too much work, and I think even emotionally for creators to, you know, put this stuff together and spend all your time writing and creating and putting out content, and, you know, even when you put something out and it doesn't do as well as you want it to, going back and trying again is really hard. So if I don't have, you know, my guys that are going to give 110%, which these guys give 150%, then I'm just not interested in playing with them.
Right. Very well said. So
Thanks, man.
just going back to what I was saying, Will, I remember that first show that you did, and I wasn't worried that you were going to mess up. That's not why I was so nervous. It's just, I can't imagine the feeling, you know, and especially
it was
like,
intimidating.
yeah, and it's not like the three of you started this band together and you've been going through the woes together. You know, it was an established band with Jay, who has an insane amount of experience, with Paul, who has a lot of experience, as you said. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, I wonder if he's feeling this insane pressure right now.
It was actually the opposite. Once the moment came to get onto the stage with these guys, especially, you know, I felt nervous and everything like that. But as it comes with everything, you know, learning the songs, going to practice and everything like that, you know, I can always count on these guys to guide me in the right direction. There's no guessing. I can always have an example of what Jay gives me or advice that Paul gives me that, you know, I can trust, and that I can go in knowing that you know, that level of experience isn't there to shadow me. It's there to pick me up and lift me up. And I've always leaned into that, knowing
That's huge.
that, you know, Paul and Jay aren't going to lead me in the wrong direction, and I just need to follow them and keep up as best as I can. And, you know, that's what I've always tried to do. That's what I've, you know, been doing, and that's why we're here right now talking to you.
And you're doing it fabulously.
And I
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
and I feel awesome, and these guys always make me feel good, and, you know, it's always, you know, we can't hide anything from each other. We've known all each other, you know, each other for so long that Jay knows when I'm getting flustered or
Right.
over my
Yeah,
head.
we're very
Very in
Paul
tune.
can tell.
we're
you know?
very honest with each other and
Yeah.
in tune. And it's like, you know, I might say something that, you know, somebody may not like, but that doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
like everything for us is for the greater good of the band.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we don't, you know, it's kind of like we try not to put our feelings into the stuff too much, and just, you know, we write music we like to write. You know, everybody has their input, and, you know, the song's done when everybody agrees. You know, on everything.
Well, what's so funny is the same time during the pandemic, when you were teaching Will guitar, he was like coming down to the city when you weren't living there yet. And you and I would work things out, and we were working on new songs that you were writing. That was like the beginning of us actually writing together. So there was, in the same time you were teaching him, that you and I were like becoming
Writing brand new
accustomed
stuff,
with each
yeah.
other.
'Cause
And,
the-
and
'cause
our
the sound-
styles weren't there yet.
Yeah, well,
It took time.
that's another thing is like we already had wrote an EP when Paul joined the band, so
Right.
everything after that was you know, co-written by Paul, and our sound has like changed a lot, you know, in 6 years. And like we're kind of on a path, especially now with Will. I mean, you know, we've recorded 3 or 4 new songs, including the one that will be dropping today when you hear this podcast. And we're really excited about the direction we're going in, and everybody feels really
Me
good.
too.
And it's just fun, you know? It's like when
Yeah.
you're doing something that you love to do with people that you love, it's fun.
Yeah, that's huge.
And that
So-
I think
It's the
that's the
greatest
best
feeling in the world.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
best way for the music to be written.
So, Will, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I just really have to say that. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
MVP
It's just,
status.
I just remember watching you guys on stage at that first show that you had, and honestly, I'm not an emotional person, and I felt emotional because not only were you guys on such a different level that night, just playing with each other, but you could feel the brotherhood, you could feel the passion, and like the love while you're doing it. There was not one person during that performance that seemed a little checked out. Or that seemed like they were just going through the motions, or like they had other things going on in their head, because I've seen that on stage with other bands, with
Yeah.
other band members, things like that. You can see that, you know.
Yeah,
and
you really have to connect to to connect to the people. The band has to be in sync.
in
and
sync,
connected.
exactly. And you know, again, I don't know anything about music, but
No, you're good.
I felt it, I saw it, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's what makes me such a big fan of this band is just it smacks you in the face when you're watching Hamilton Fish perform. It smacks you in the face. It's just, you can feel it. It was the biggest inspiration for me starting this podcast, to watch you guys perform and feel all of those things from where I was standing. I was like, I need a platform for this.
Yeah.
I need to dive into this. I need to get these stories out there and get the exposure, because there's too much hard work, there's too much passion, and there's just too much talent going into this for it not to have a platform,
Right.
or not to get the shine that it deserves.
Well, and not enough people do passion projects anymore. It's all
Right,
about the
at some
grind, and it's
point-
all about like getting lost in your life.
And that's a huge point to this podcast, is that at some point it became ridiculous to follow your passion or to follow
Yep.
your dreams or whatever.
yeah,
And that's
when
one
did
thing
that happen?
I don't know. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially with doing this podcast. It's that I even lost sight of it for a long time. And you know, half of it was because I was still trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go in and things like that. But also because it's like, oh no, you got to grind, you got to make money, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm like, I'm climbing the corporate ladder. And
That's
I'm,
what they want.
right.
That's what the man
That's
wants.
what we're fed.
This guy,
we're
since
fed
we were
that.
kids. For me, it's like I'm over here climbing this corporate ladder, and it's like I feel so unfulfilled. And
You're
it's like
empty at the end of the day.
yeah, and it's like, you know, those people who have a hard time supporting you guys, or not you guys specifically, but you know, creatives and things like that.
Yeah.
So what do you think they should be doing? You think they should be doing this 9 to 5 grind that makes them unhappy? Like, long story short, that's the whole premise of this podcast, and you guys brought that to life. You guys inspired that. You guys really lit that fire within me just from me watching you guys. So I'm huge on communication, and I would not let this episode finish without telling you guys exactly that. So I personally want
Thanks,
to say
Sid.
Thank you.
thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank you. I really
And real quick, you know, I just want to say, you know, speaking on Will's story, for everybody out there listening to this podcast, Will is, you know, a perfect example, you know, and so inspiring a story that, you know, 3 years ago he would have never imagined, you know, going and getting on stage and playing in front of people in a band, and he went and did it, you know, with hard work, and it wasn't easy. It's still not easy, you know.
No.
And there's a lot of growing pains, and you know, there's going to practice and us working on stuff, and you know, we got to go home and keep practicing it, you know, and you want everything to be perfect, but it doesn't just come, you know. You have to put the work in, and
That's
this
right.
kid put in so much work, and you know, he's got a beautiful daughter at home and a family,
She's
and
so
he
cute.
still makes
Shout out.
he
She's the
still
most
makes the
beautiful thing in
time.
the world.
Yeah, she is.
And you know, the biggest thing out of doing this whole entire thing, you know, it would be it's always easy to quit and go an easier road, but that's not what I want to teach my daughter. I want to teach my daughter that
Thank you.
it's
Yes.
so much more worth it to do the hard things, do the right thing, even if it's hard and if it challenges you, and even if you're standing alone. And if
100%.
you're the only one person doing it, you have to stand up for your own moral character
Preach.
and what you stand for, and be you, even if no one else likes it. And,
100%.
I love it. Well said, brother.
You need to have the confidence in yourself to do that, and it's okay to fall down, but you got to get back up and do it, and that's the only way to get things done.
100%. And
Absolutely.
I can totally relate to that. Again, the birth of this podcast, I have 3 daughters and a son, and it was one of those things where it was like they're watching me come home from work or be done with work and just want to pull my hair out like every day, or they're
Legit.
watching me going, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to work, or celebrate the end of Fridays. The celebration that happens after a work day on a Friday, and it just became one of those things where it was like, a lot of people think that because we're parents, that's where we have to grow up, and that's where we have to, stop chasing the dreams. Now you got to raise your kids.
It's bull.
Because we're parents, and
can't
because
give
I'm
that
a
up.
mom, I cannot.
No.
What would I be teaching them?
Exactly.
And that's something that Jay's been trying to tell me for years, and it's finally clicking.
Well, people
So-
don't realize too. It's like, if you feel like you don't have time to do something that you like to do or you love to do, take 1 hour out of the week and start putting it towards that.
Yep.
And I guarantee you're going to start finding time.
Yeah.
If it's 30 minutes, that's still time.
Yeah.
Wake up earlier, go to bed later.
It's the same
Find the
thing as
time.
like sometimes, I'm like, oh, I want to do this or record this or make this beat. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to take so long. And then it's like I spend all this time, setting the stuff up, and then it only takes me 20, 30 minutes. And I finish something or writing something. I go, oh my God.
Well, dude, maybe watch one less episode of that Netflix show that you've been watching.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
That's
what I
it.
had to do.
That's all it is.
I
right.
stopped binging.
That's it.
Yeah, Sin used to be heavy on the Netflix.
That's
Huge.
it. That's all you got to do.
And that's the
Just
thing.
Addict.
That's the thing is that, I used to think all the time, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. Like, I can't pick up on, any hobbies or any extracurriculars. And now I have so much on my plate, and I've never been happier to be so tired.
Yep.
That's
how it
a
is.
huge
Yep,
thing for
because
me.
you sleep better.
I've been tired so much, for so many years. I've been exhausted. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm so happy to be this tired because I'm exploring so many different avenues right now. And I have so many different things going on in my life that are mine.
Self-fulfillment.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
mine. They have nothing to do with me being a mom. They have nothing to do with me being a wife. They're mine. They make me happy. And in turn, I could be a better mother and I could be a better wife.
Right.
So you guys are totally correct in that. I brought you guys here despite trying to pick your brains and get to know you guys a little bit better. Klepto. We are promoting Hamilton Fish's newest single, which will be out the same day that this episode drops. Do you want to give us a quick briefing on Klepto before we wrap up?
Sure. Klepto is a song that we actually wrote a couple of years ago before Will even joined the band. And we were just kind of sitting on the song for a while. But it's kind of just like a dark, like emotional track. Some of my influences come from like, bands like Census Fail and Brand New.
Oh, so good.
Deftones. Me and Paul are big Deftones
sure.
guys. But yeah, it's just got like a kind of a dark vibe to it. And, obviously, I always love for people to listen to our music and have their own story for the music. But, I wrote this song with inspiration from me and my ex's fertility struggles, and I think it's
Oh, okay.
something that a lot of men don't speak about, but, going through, the infertility struggle and trying to start a family and dealing with miscarriages and stuff it's really
Pressure.
yeah, it's really something tough to deal with, especially for the women, but also for the men. And this song just kind of inspired me to write about that. And yeah,
I think-
that's kind of like the backstory of the song. But like I said, I also write with intention. I want Paul to listen to the song and feel, relate to it in his own story. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's Klepto.
That's huge because you're like you said, we don't get to hear a guy's perspective too much on going through those things. So I'm so excited to hear this song. I'm such a big fan of you guys. Klepto is coming out. It will be April 24th.
Yep.
You guys
April
have a show
24th.
coming up April 27th.
Yes, so April 27th.
Shout
When you guys
out.
hear this, it'll be Monday. So come out on Thursday night.
Thursday
to
night, baby.
Rockwood Music Hall. It's going to be Will's first time playing in New York City.
Free show.
Let's
It is-
go.
It is a free show. It's in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and we play at 10 o'clock. So we hope to see everybody there. It's going to be such an amazing show. It's kind of like our return. We haven't played in the city in a little while because we had gone through a lot of lineup changes and a lot of changes within the band in general.
It's house cleaning.
But
House cleaning.
yo, come out to the show. It's going to be a really, really excellent time.
And your girl Sin will be there
Yeah, Sin will be there
covering
the show.
Cannot wrap this episode without saying thank you, Jay. I am so excited to go on this venture with you. I'm so happy you're
Me
my
too.
co-host.
We're so
gonna be
excited for
great.
you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was
High
such an
five.
honor to have
Five.
my brother,
five.
who is a massive inspiration to me, who is my biggest supporter and my favorite person. So I love you.
Oh, I
Thank
love
you.
you.
Aw,
too, sis.
so cute.
We love you guys.
All right. So that's episode 1 of Sin and Twin podcast. It's your girl Sin and my twin.
Tar Bernard.
Thank you for joining us. And
We'll
I
see
can't
you
wait to
guys
see you
next
guys
time.
again.
Go stream that Klepto. Link in
Where
the
can
bio.
they find you?
I mean, not link
Where
in the
can
bio.
they find Hamilton Fish on social medias and all that stuff?
Hamilton Fish NY on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It might be Hamilton Fish Music on Facebook, but just type in Hamilton Fish NY on Google and you will find us everywhere. Also, we got a bunch of songs out already. We just released a guitar playthrough video, me and Will, which was shot by none other than the Prince of Chaos.
Jeff.
Prince of
Shout out,
Chaos.
shout out, shout out.
The Eyes of Hamilton Fish. So yeah, go check out, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us on the gram and Facebook and Twitter and wherever else you can find us. And we hope to see you guys at Rockwood Music Hall on April 27th.
We'll be on the move.
And thank you guys. I appreciate you, Paul. I appreciate you, Will. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
today.
having
you,
us.
Sin.
Absolutely.
All
And
right.
that's it. That's a wrap.
On 3, peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace.